This SoonerScoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. If you're ready to see the rest of the world just as clearly, get your fresh perspective at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIX.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoya here from the SoonerScoop.com studios on Campus Quarter. It is Friday boarding. You saw on Thursday we went over all the offensive stuff coming out of Media Day on Wednesday, hearing from Jay Knott for the first time, Ben Arbuckle talking about the tight end unit, as well as Jacob Sexton, Troy Everett talking about an offensive line group that has to be much, much improved. This program will be all defensive talk. We're going to get into things with Damonic Williams and Gracen Halton, who were at Media Day on Wednesday, as well as Taylor Wein, who it seems to be, there's a tremendous amount of buzz.
The talk of the town.
We've talked about, we've talked about John Mateer and Jaden Nod. They kind of lead the way on the offensive side of the ball. It seems like Taylor Wein, one of those guys that really created a lot of buzz for himself coming out of spring, as well as Kobie McKinzie, who steps into a bigger role, a bigger leadership role within the defense with Danny Stutzman now in New Orleans. Before we get to all the defensive stuff, let us tell you about Lucy. 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free. Love Lucy. Me and Carrie have been on it here over the last couple of weeks. Just grab a pinch, put it into your lip there, and it's a very lovely time. You can do it all day, basically. It's very easy to get. And if you want to get some Lucy in your life, all you got to do is go to lucy.co. That is lucy.co /SoonerScoop and use the promo code SoonerScoop to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. And we must tell you, Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Hopefully getting off the field's an addictive chemical for the OU defense in 2025. And let's start with maybe the best unit out there. I think that there's a lot of buzz right now. You hear the Cole Kubliks of the world talking about Oklahoma's defensive line group. Obviously, Damonic Williams and all the stuff that Brent Venables was saying about Damonic going into his second season in Norman at the coaches' luncheon that we talked about with Josh McCuistion last week, as well as Gracen Halton returning. It's a really good defensive line group going into this thing, and it's going to be kind of fun to see if they can live up to the expectations.
Yeah, look, I mean, these are two guys in Damonic Williams and Gracen Halton that were two of Oklahoma's most consistent players on defense a year ago. Maybe they didn't always make the splash plays. Gracen Halton did, right? He was one of the better pass rushers that Oklahoma had and was one of the better interior defensive tackles in terms of pass rushing in the country a year ago. But you look, I pulled up the snap counts from last year. Those two guys played the most snaps of any defensive tackle for Oklahoma last year. Damonic Williams played the most with 416. Gracen Halton second with 402. Jaden Jackson right behind him at 387. So you have all three of those guys back. You add David Stone to the mix, who we all think is going to be a really good player for Oklahoma. You have Trent Wilson coming in, the true freshman, as well as Marcus Strong, who's now in his third year, I think, at Oklahoma. I know there's some expectations for him. I think he's a little bit banged up right now, but that interior defensive tackle room, Eddie, I think is going to be really, really special. One of the better groups Oklahoma's had at that position in a while. I mean, it wasn't long ago that guys like Perrion Winfrey or whoever it was, Neville Gallimore were playing basically all the snaps for Oklahoma in the middle. That's no longer the case. They have a lot of depth there.
Todd Bates done a really good job building that thing up since the day that he got here. Here is Damonic Williams and Gracen Halton talking about the expectations that come with possibly being one of the better groups in the country.
Expectation, just coming out to work every day, you know what I'm saying? Football's football, we got to come to work, you know what I'm saying? So when practices come around fall camp, we got to attack every day, and that's what our mindset is, really. We attack every day. We ain't got to worry about nothing. When the games come around, we're going to put in what we work for.
Brent talked a lot about Damonic the other day when he was with us. What have you seen just from growth standpoint, development standpoint, just over this last year? It sounds like he's had an exceptional summer.
Oh, yeah, he had a great summer. Just like I said, coming to work every day, he's done a great job leading the guys, you know what I'm saying, getting right. And I feel like as he just keeps on going, locking in, you know what I'm saying, he's going to have a great year.
A lot more film study, a lot more bonding with my D-line, because a bond is a huge thing in this. And just knowing that I can trust myself to make the play. I feel like last year I came in and I knew the defense, but I didn't know it as well as I do this year. having a whole extra year to learn it, that really helps me.
Oh yeah, we had the best summer yet. I feel like, that comes with, working together, being a brotherhood, when the challenges happen, when the coaches throw something at us, overcoming adversity. And I feel like every time that they threw something at us, we overcame. So, that's going to build us. That built us for sure. And it gave us the confidence. So we're ready to go attack.
It's going to be weird going out there without Billy and Danny tomorrow?
Yeah, it's going to be a little weird because, last year I came in, they were, just the leaders on the team, the alphas, the big dogs. And I'm talking about, nothing goes without them knowing, in a sense. So just knowing that they're not here no more and they're doing some great things in the NFL, that's also motivation to me and a lot of the guys here to meet them in the league. But yeah.
Have you seen Kip and Kobie and Sammy kind of try to pick up that
Most
leadership
definitely.
role, more vocal this year?
Yes, sir. Very much so.
We'll have a little bit more on the leadership aspect of everything with Kobie McKinzie here shortly. One of the reasons that Oklahoma's defensive line, it does feel like there is a ledge that you could stand on and say they're the best in the country is because of the development, obviously. Alongside our Mason Thomas, you have PJ Adebawore coming back that's expected to have a big year. Danny Okoye seems like every time that Brent Venables has talked about him, it's been something positive about him being maybe the best athlete on the team pound for pound. It's going to be interesting. And then you also have a Taylor Wein, who we'll get to in a second, but you do need to get somebody opposite of our Mason Thomas, who returns as one of the premier pass rushers in the country.
Yeah, look, I think you love the experience you've got coming back, whether that's on the interior or obviously somebody like R. Mason, who was one of the best pass rushers in the country a year ago. But if there's one question mark along this defensive line, it's that other in spot. Who's going to emerge? Is it a Taylor Wein, who we continue to hear a lot about? And I really don't think played a ton of snaps last year. I think it was only, 34 snaps last season. And I think a lot of those were probably special teams.
Sure.
But you love what you have in PJ. Can he finally take that step? He battled some injuries last year, didn't play much as a true freshman. Danny Okoye, freak athlete. And then you bring in Marvin Jones Jr., who's kind of the more experienced guy from Georgia and Florida State. So I think that's kind of the one big question, but you like who you have on paper.
You've heard from Gracen Halton and Dominic Williams. They're going to be joined by David Stone. I think that's probably notable as well. I think people are going to like what they have to hear on David Stone. Here is Halton and Dominic Williams, and Brent Venables talking about kind of the young guys in that defensive line group taking in a bigger role.
Dominic, what kind of jump can a guy like David Stone make in his second year in this defense?
I feel like he can be one of the greats, without a doubt. Him and Jaden Jackson, I'm excited to see, I said this last year, but I'm excited to see their future because seeing how close they are and how much of a bond that they have with each other, they're going to be something special, without a doubt. They're going to run OU.
Talked about both of those guys several times, the improvement that they both made, the talent they possess, and then their commitment level. I think that's always important. It takes a lot more than just talent. And, a coach should try to, challenge his players, but, a coach also needs to inspire and motivate, but the coach can't want it more than the player wants it for himself. And so that means showing up every day, with an elite championship type of mindset, willing to do the work without having to have certain kind of results. You show up every day. This is how you do it. There's only one way. It's the right way. It's the hard way. And so they have to show that the willingness to commit to that. I've bragged on both of those guys. They both have, again, tremendous talent and ability. They're different people, and they're same in in the way that they have great talent and great futures, in my opinion. And but love where they're at right now from a competitive toughness and a competitive character. They let you coach them hard. They've got incredibly high standards that they show up with every single day. They understand that there's great competition at their positions, and neither one of them want to take a back seat to the guys they're competing with. So that gets me excited. Like I said, they're both ingrained in our special teams as well. We're counting on both of them to be good players for us this year, and guys that are dependable and reliable, consistent, those types of things.
I feel like around the whole team, that bond and that connection, that light bulb, like that switch. That season last year was not us at all. And I feel like we're going to be able to make that change and prove everybody that we made that change. So PJ, he's a guy that's hungry. His get off is insane, and I'm just excited for him.
I think there's a lot of people that are excited for PJ Adebore.
Definitely. And doesn't it feel like a year ago or so that David Stone entered the portal and we had that whole saga?
I know.
What was that like 24 hours, 48 hours?
About 48 hours, Friday night to a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's a huge deal that Oklahoma still's got him on roster, because I do think that is a guy that could take a huge leap this year. I mean, you saw what Jaden Jackson did a year ago. I think it's David Stone's turn this year. I think he's going to play a lot for Oklahoma.
Somehow Jaden Jackson's become a returning freshman All-American. It's kind of one of those guys that you just shrug your shoulders and it's like, yeah, he's back.
Yeah.
It's a big deal that they got those guys back. And retention, when you're talking about Orr Mason Thomas and Dominic Williams, who really, they both could have left.
Definitely.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get into Taylor Wein, because I think that he has become a very interesting player for this Oklahoma football team. Maybe not even as much this year as just moving forward. It seems like there is a ton of buzz for Taylor Wein.
It's kind of crazy. He's kind of really skyrocketed, because I would say back in the spring, he was on our radar, but it wasn't something that was like, oh, yeah, like Taylor Wein could start. Like, sure. we kind of penciled in Marvin Jones Jr. I mean, PJ was somebody. We even thought Danny Okoye. Taylor Wein has had an unbelievable offseason from everything we've heard and have been told by the coaching staff. And I think that he's somebody that you look at his size. I think he's listed at 6'5", 270, so he's a big dude. He's extremely athletic, maybe underrated as an athlete, and I think is really smart. He's a really smart player, and the coaching staff just loves his work ethic, and I think that stood out. And I can tell you, and make sure you subscribe to Soonerscoop.com, because you could have read this on Thursday for $1. He's running with the ones. Day one, he's out there. So he's earned that. I think he's in a battle to end up being a starter. And they're going to rotate guys. That's a position that they want to rotate a lot of bodies. But that tells you how much he's earned this coaching staff's trust by the way that he's worked this offseason, that he's running out with the first team on day one of fall camp.
Just going back to last Thursday at the coaches' luncheon, Brent Venables kind of unprompted brought up Taylor Wein in the same category, the same breath, if you will, as somebody like a John Mateer, that he just lives up at the facility, which is obviously good news. Here is Brent Venables talking about Taylor Wein, as well as Wein himself, talking about his kind of ascension into the OU depth chart.
Yeah, he's had great work ethic since he's gotten here, hungry, driven. Where he is now at 270-plus pounds is different when he came in, and so he's transformed his body. Through that, obviously, he's also grown and matured like you would want all your players, but he's been very committed. He's kept his head down, hasn't been distracted, hasn't worried about anything other than himself, and controlled the controllables like you want all of your players to. It's easier said than done, but he's shown tremendous improvement and development through a lot of hard work, belief in himself. As I tell the players all the time, doing what is required is never enough, and he's bought into that. He's lived that life, and he has incredibly high standards that he lives and dives by every day. Been a great example of, just the strain that it takes, and excited to see, what's in front of him.
Taylor, it kind of seems like you're the star of the show so far. There's been a lot of buzz about you coming out of spring. Have you felt that you have a bigger role within kind of this big picture that is the program right now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just getting better. To be honest, I don't really listen to buzz or any of that. I'm just trying to get better each day, and I brought the same mentality since day one, since I've been here. Since I came from Nashville, it's been the same mentality. It hasn't changed, and so I got to get better. I got to develop, got to get stronger in some areas. Going to fall camp, and just excited to get back in the grind with the guys, and going to week one, and we're excited.
In San Antonio, at one of the bowl practices a couple of years ago, it just seemed like Shea was just wearing your ass out. Is it hard to see the big picture of development and waiting for your turn?
No, I think that's all. Coach Che's really intentional with his coaching, and that to me fuels me. Yeah. And he's mentioned it. I know some of our other coaches mentioned it. The dudes that play the best and are the most productive, and that end up playing at a really high ceiling, are the dudes that can take the hardest coaching. And I have thick skin, and I will always continue to be that way. And so for me, that fuels me. That doesn't tear me down. It builds me up. So I take hard coaching, and even guys like our Mason's obviously came off of last year having a great season, but I don't see anyone that can take hard coaching better than our Mason, and it's going to be that way, and that's how you get better as a player.
An absolutely filthy mustache there. I hope he keeps
love
that
it.
throughout the season. All right, let's talk linebacker, because Kobie McKinzie obviously stepping into a much larger role than he's had here in his first couple years in Norman. Sammy Omosigho, Kip Lewis certainly seem to be kind of that core in the middle of Oklahoma's defense.
And Kobie's a guy, he's come up with Kip and really kind of waited his turn.
Sure.
I mean, because he's been behind Danny Stutzman, and Kobie had every opportunity to jump in the portal and probably be a starter at some other major programs. That's how good of a player that a lot of people think he can be. So this is a really big year for him. His fourth season, I believe now. Obviously, he came in. Brent Venables' first class and very highly rated. So I'm interested. I know he really wants to prove himself this year. I think he's a really important leader in this group, and on this defense, playing in the middle, being the guy that's probably going to have the green dot on his helmet that Danny had a year ago, playing alongside a guy like Kip, who, I think is going to take another leap. I don't know. It's an interesting group, Eddie, because I really like Kobie. I think Sammy Omosigho is going to be really dang good, and I think he's going to push Kobie for that starting Mike spot. I think they're both going to end up playing. They want to get him on the field and maybe do some rotating there at inside linebacker. But I like this group. It's not super deep. Doesn't have a ton of experience beyond Kobie and Kip really at the position, but I do like the potential of this group.
Here is Kobie McKinzie talking about the leadership role, a bigger role within the team, as well as still getting to know, kind of feeling out Nate Dreiling as he enters his first year in Norman.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that my leadership role changed because I've always been a vocal guy. I've always expressed the way that I felt, no matter who was in the room or who was in the building. So I would say that, I just try to bring guys along with me, allow them to also be vocal and speak their opinions. That's most important when you get other guys like Billy and Danny and Ethan to leave. They were automatically vocal, and that's just who they were. And you got a lot of guys who aren't just vocal. So for me, it's been the same, man. Just trying to be better and learn how to lead in different ways. But I've always been a vocal guy.
How about just you yourself, just your expectations going into this season? I mean, I know in the spring it looks like you've leaned up a little bit. I mean, through the summer, your focus, kind of what do you want to show people this year kind of as a centerpiece of the linebacking core?
Yeah, that I am who I am. That's been big for me. I don't really care about the outside noise. I've had some things that didn't necessarily go my way, whether that was freshman year, with injuries or, just barely getting myself into a role the last year. Just being who I am and expanding my game and being elite.
What's it been like for the offseason for the linebacker room? I mean, what did you guys kind of try and do to come together? How, losing Danny, big piece of your voice. How have you guys kind of tried to take that on as your own?
Yeah, every day just trying to get better. Upholding the standard of being the linebackers. It doesn't matter who's in the room, who came, who left. The standard is the standard, and to be a great here, you got to live by that standard. Danny carried that, and it's up to the rest of us to carry it.
What's that been like with Coach Dreiling kind of taking over too? What's been his role in that?
Yeah, Coach Dreiling's a really amazing coach. I love to get coached by him. I love his approach to things. He obviously has a different approach than Coach V. Very vocal, but not in a very aggressive way. Coach V is who he is, and it's different than Coach Dreiling. So, he's brought a different approach to things, has a lot of different drills. It's been really good. Yeah, Sammy can make a ginormous leap, man. He really, really can. Really athletic, smart, and the most important thing for Sammy is just going and taking it. I told Sammy, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, if you want my job, go and take it. I truly believe that because either way, it'll make both of us better, and the best man will win. However you see that, but that's it on Sammy.
Not bad for the competition there at the linebacker
That's
position.
what you want.
Exactly.
You want that at every position. So I think it's good. And Kobie's a veteran, man. He gets it. And I enjoy talking to him. I think that he's a really valuable leader for this group.
No doubt about it. All right, on Friday morning, we'll be out, I guess, might be watching this as we're out at practice. We'll come back. We'll break down, kind of recap everything from the open portion of the media viewing on Friday afternoon, and we'll see you right back here on Soonerscoop.com. Until then, just go join Soonerscoop.com. It's $1. You can do it. You're gonna probably spend it on crack anyways. All right, here's George Stoya. I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll see you back here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel.